everyone. Welcome to the Honorees, a show dedicated to follow up with the recipients of the MDC's Endowed Teaching Chairs program that selects distinguished professors every year who continue to demonstrate excellence in teaching, effective communications with students, and professional growth. I'm your host, Jez Katambe. Our guest today is Professor Stephen Quinzi, the Frances Louise Wolfson Endowed Teaching Chair of Excellence in Arts. Professor Quinzi, welcome to the Honorees.
Thank you for having me.
Now, allow me to take our viewers into your classroom for a minute.
Sure.
We have a short video. Let's watch.
Sure.
Professor Quinzi instructs, inspires, and mentors his students as they craft their own careers in the music industry. To encourage music making, he developed a series of songwriting courses and spearheaded the renovation of the Kendall Campus Recording Studio.
It feels fantastic to be one of the recipients of the Endowed Chair. It just feels wonderful. It feels wonderful to be recognized by my peers, to have other people see beyond my students and recognize me. It's fantastic. I do absolutely everything with 100% of my effort. If the students are not understanding, if the students are faced with difficult material, I'm never set in my ways. I will always try to find some way to reach the group of people that is sitting in front of me. I'll always be experimenting with something.
Professor Quinzi's teaching style, it's great. He doesn't hug the book. You can tell he definitely teaches from experience, and he keeps the classroom engaged, and a little bit of humor always helps.
I enjoy the relationship that I have with my students. Yes, the funny thing is that even if they didn't feel that way, I would still want to give. Even if they didn't understand fully what I was doing, I would still do it. But I'm happy that they're appreciative of the things that I do for them.
Professor Quinzi challenged me academically, not only learning the business terms, but also fully understanding them. Professionally, he helped me narrow down the scope of one, how big the business, music business is, and help me define my role in the music business.
I love to see the students get it. I love the students. I love it when the students sort of take the ball that I throw them, and I love to see them play with it and take it to the next level. And ultimately, I like to see them have success in their own lives with it.
Something I always remember about Professor Quinzi is he has a very expansive knowledge space, and he's always someone I can go to if I ever have questions or need help with something.
I get tremendous reward from composing, but I don't impact people's lives to the extent that I do teaching, and for that reason I will always say first, I'm a teacher.
Well, how does it feel to win the Endowed Teaching Chair Award?
It's great. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I could tell from the video you clearly really love teaching, and your energy really shows through.
I hope so.
So now you teach music and music industry classes at the Kendall campus.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your students and their backgrounds?
Well, it really runs the gamut. I have people that are musicians that want to grow and develop their understanding in the industry. I have people that are maybe already sort of knowledgeable about that and they want to learn more about music. There are people that are coming in with that already have some experience, maybe people a little older, young kids right out of high school. It really runs the gamut.
That's great. I mean, it really gives you a lot of breadth to work with your students. Now, out of curiosity, with such a wide variety of students and their backgrounds, what kind of techniques do you use, and how does it differ depending on your students' class demographics?
Well, I really try to feel it out. I have a structure for everything that's sort of like that's a template, and I find the students like that. They like to have a structure and they like to work with the structure, but within that structure I try to always be able to fine-tune it based upon who exactly I'm working with in that semester. Sometimes even in the same semester two different sections of the same class could be entirely different. as far as how they respond. And it could be the time of day, it could be the demographics in the class, and, you know, it's really impossible to say. But there's always some fine-tuning that has to be done.
Oh, sure. And I mean, that's the case for almost any class.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Especially with lectures. Now, I know you mentioned that with such varied backgrounds, you do have to do a lot of fine-tuning with your classes. And out of curiosity, what would you say the most challenging class you teach is?
I can't really say that there's one that's a problem, or, you know, one that, you know, really is tiresome. It really depends on the particular group that's there. I used to say, maybe would say that the upper level classes became more challenging because I would require more of them. But I'm finding more and more that that's not the case. I'm getting the same, you know, I'm going to try to figure out a good way to say this. They're responding well, and you know, I could find any one of them challenging or a breeze in any given semester.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That really is. I mean, to have such versatility with all of your classes is great.
Well, I think I'm fortunate because I'm not, you know, I would imagine that, you know, some of the courses, mathematics, for instance, where, you know, things are a bit more cut and dried, and I've got a little more leeway in that there's a level of subjectivity. I mean, not entirely, but I have a little bit of an element of subjectivity that gives me a little wiggle room there.
Oh, certainly. Now, out of curiosity, with the classes that you teach, how do you give your students a sense of real-world problems?
Oh, everything. I have real-world problems in everything, particularly in the upper-level classes, in music business 2, sound recording 2. Everything is hands-on. Everything is a project, and I make sure that, you know, nobody leaves the class without having that experience somehow. I mean, and if not, every week.
Could you give us a short example of one of the problems that you like giving your students?
Well, for instance, like in sound recording too, it's an upper level class, and you know, while the class is going through, my teaching technique in that is because I'm limited. I have, you know, really only one facility, yet I have 20 students. So my technique for that class is, you know, I sort of came up with it that I will go through a procedure with one student, and then I have that student teach the next student, and until everybody goes through. And I'm sitting there, and then I said, you can't step away. Everybody has to stay and then can be a consultant until everyone has gone through exercise number 1, and then I introduce another level of complexity, and I take it up there. And then before we know it, we're ready to start recording. And then, you know, I'll bring in the groups and ensembles from the school, and then ultimately they have their own projects they have to do, where they have to bring in a band from the outside and do a complete project.
Oh, that's great. We're going to take a short break right now, and when we get back, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your in-class experiences.
Great, great.
You're watching The Honorees. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us.
Creative minds join together at Miami-Dade College. Celebrate, interrogate, practice, and more through the curriculum of Arts and Philosophy at Miami-Dade College. Open your world by learning the innumerable ways in which people from every period of history and every corner of the globe process and document the human experience. Learn the skills you need to jumpstart your career by making a straight line from the classroom to the stage, from books to the canvas, from dark to the light. Turn your life out from the ordinary, understanding human experience and make your own statement. Arts and Philosophy at Miami-Dade College. Cultural, challenging, inspiring. Register now at the Wolfson campus. A unique experience. Be part of it. Arts and Philosophy at the Miami-Dade College.
Welcome back to The Honorees. Our guest today is Professor Stephen Quinzi. On the previous segment, we discussed your Endowed Teaching Chair Award, as well as some of your teaching techniques. So I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about your students and some of their achievements?
Well, I've been pretty fortunate that some of the people have kept in touch with me and have kept me apprised of what they've done. I've got students that get jobs in the industry, that go on to become performers, that go on to other colleges, transfer to some of the universities, and and actually get bachelor's degrees, and some even go on further than that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it is.
And
I wish everybody kept in touch with me, but everybody doesn't. So sometimes they'll come in. It might be several years later I'll hear from them, but I get enough feedback that I'm pretty certain that they're on good footing out there.
That's really wonderful, especially the fact that even years later they think to write to you or reach out to you to establish that context. That they're doing well.
In some cases, they start to call because now they've been, they've have a permanent position somewhere, and now they're calling us looking for interns, and it's like this self-perpetuating sort of mechanism.
Wonderful. So your students do go on internships in the
yeah,
industry.
that's part of our program. That's part of the
great.
program, to do an internship. And, obviously it's not possible that every internship turn into a job, but it's a good springboard. And like, for instance, I can give you an example of a student, Kevin, and he was very talented with graphics as well as and web stuff in addition to music. And he did his internship at Warner Records.
Oh, wow.
And they liked him so much they hired him right away. And then just maybe a month ago, he called and said that he was being promoted to manage the Warner's iTunes Latina account, and now they need a replacement for him. So we recommended a couple of our people that we thought would be a good fit, and now he just started this week.
Wow.
A kid named Nick, and so it happens, and it's good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very validating.
I love hearing that our students are doing so well out in business and industry. It means so much, not just to us as the employees of the college, but it means so much to other students to know that they're on a path to success.
Yeah, well, I haven't really done enough of it yet because it's really hard to get everybody together, but to have them come back and then to share their experiences and say, yeah, this is what you're going to need out there. These guys aren't making it up.
Absolutely.
These guys aren't making this stuff up. You really need these skills to succeed out there.
Now, speaking of skill development and students' success, you teach a very popular songwriting course, and you've helped to develop the curriculum for that class. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, we really had no songwriting class, and we had traditional composition. And this was, a few years back. I want to say maybe 4 years ago, and maybe 5. And I just started, researching how I could go about starting the class. I mean, we would talk about it, try to teach it peripherally in the other classes, but I really wanted a class that was songwriting, and a series of classes, songwriting 1 and 2, and. One of my good friends is associate dean over at University of Miami, and he had created a songwriting major. And I thought, well, they can do it, we could do it. So I researched what was needed as far as the development of the curriculum and the procedure as far as getting it into the state system and getting it approved and all that. I built the course and sort of just threw it out there to see what would happen. And as it turned out, it became very popular. And word of mouth amongst the students, almost guarantees that every semester I have a packed classroom. And
that's great.
Some of the songs, I've had a few semesters where, boy, you could hear any one of the songs on the radio. I mean, that's how good some of them were. I mean, some of the people are developmental, and that's to be expected. But I'm pretty amazed, particularly when I had John Cicada one semester, and he came in, frequently throughout. He was just kind of checking in on the class, and he was just blown away that the students had developed so much, in the same semester. So
and I'm sure it meant a lot to your students as well.
Oh yeah, he really gave them good feedback.
I bet. Now, how about you? How do you take students under your wing, so to speak? especially in the music classes that you teach?
You mean specific students or in
Well,
class?
either specifically or in class at large. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you mentor students.
Well, I see our environment as one of not just academic achievement and development, but of identity development and identity of not only self, but what we're charged with is making them see themselves as professionals and giving them that sort of inner feeling, that inner security that they know that they can do it. It's just a question of learning these things and developing these skills, and then being able to portray that and project it to those who may want to employ or work with them. So I try to impart that. That's a part of all my courses. It's not just learn this stuff, but be this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You really want them to kind of become, to have that become a part of them,
Yeah.
so that they feel that they're really a part of the industry
Yes.
right at the outset. Oh, that is wonderful. Absolutely.
No, it's just not facts. It's a way of life. It's a mindset.
Oh, I believe it. And I'm sure that really helps them to succeed when they go out into the industry.
Yes.
So that they don't have nearly the adjustment period.
I've had
that
feedback from
someone-
people that said, your students are a lot better prepared.
Really?
They seem like pros. They know, they get it.
Oh, that's wonderful. We actually have to take a short break
Okay.
right now, but when we get back, I've definitely got some more questions for you about how you work with your students.
I'm ready.
When we come back, Professor Quinzi will be telling us about his first record. We're going to take a short break. You're watching The Honorees. Stay with us.
Cool programs for hot jobs. Let Miami-Dade College jumpstart your career. We offer bachelor's degrees in physician assistant studies, biological sciences, education, and public safety management. Or choose from 300 other programs. With our flexible course schedules, you can take classes during the day, evening, weekend, or online. For more info, visit MDC.edu or call 305-237-8888. Get the knowledge and training for today's in-demand jobs. Register now.
Welcome back to The Honorees. Our guest today is Professor Stephen Quinzi. Now, Professor Quinzi, I know you're an accomplished composer, pianist, arranger, and producer. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got there?
Practice.
Well, that's pretty honest of you. Now, I know that you actually have some commercial releases.
I do.
Was it 3 commercial releases?
Yeah.
And 2
recently.
solo albums? So I'd love to hear a little bit about that for the sake of our viewers and our students.
Well, it really started when I was in high school, and my first real commercial release was, well, if you want to call it commercial, was when I was 17. And I made a little record with, my band that I had when I was in high school, and totally self-produced. And, we had no, there were no music business programs at that time. There were nothing like what we have here. Totally self-financed, self-made. And yeah, we pressed vinyl, because I'm talking quite a while ago. And, we pressed vinyl records. And
Well, I mean, vinyl's in again these days.
The odd thing is that, the really crazy story there is the fact that, we sold the records at gigs, we gave them away to friends and family. Many years later, 30 years later, it has turned out that the record has become a sought-after collector's item, because the sound of the band was very unique, and the
So
record
could you
collectors
tell us
really
that
like
band's name?
Blessed End.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was
Very
sort of
cool.
psychedelic rock. And but more recently, I've records under my own name as a pianist and composer, and I've done production for other things. My first release as a solo artist was Rhythm of the World, and I've got a few that I produced of Celtic Ladies and Celtic Ladies Christmas. Both of those had hit the world music charts a little bit, so I'm all over the map there.
That's
styles
actually
of music
quite an
and-
accomplished resume.
Yeah, well,
Congrats.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly impressed.
kept me off the streets.
Well, whatever keeps you out of trouble, right? So now tell me, I'd love to know how you got into the music industry. Can you tell me a little bit about your first job in the industry, how you got there? What was it like?
You heard it. I was in high school and I liked to play the piano. I loved to play the piano and I loved music, and both my mom and dad, though neither was a musician, they loved music. My dad was a jazz fan. My mom sang in the choir in church, and I just loved music. And the first time I, saw an actual band play, I said I wanted to do that.
So needless to say, music really is in your blood.
Kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
not because I really came from a musical family that played, but we just loved music, and it was just kind of a no-brainer for me.
Well, I mean, your passion definitely comes through in your lectures and your classes to your students. I mean, the energy is so visible. So now, to go along with your passion for music, I'm curious about your educational background.
I went to, a very bad example for my students. Right after high school, I went to college in Pennsylvania, in Westchester, Westchester College. It's Westchester University now, and I did really good my first semester. And I'm going to admit, I joined a different band, and I spent a lot of time playing and traveling, and ended up not doing very well my second semester, and dropped out of college after my first semester. But then I returned again. I decided to go to the University of Miami 4 years later, and I was a completely different person, more mature, able to organize my time, and more focused on school. And so I got my bachelor's degree at UM in jazz piano. And I also, while I was there, learned, music engineering. And then I stayed and I got my master's in a program called Studio Writing and Production, which is sort of a combination between commercial composition, arranging, and recording arts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, production.
Now, if you don't mind my asking, what got you back to school?
I think it was the realization that even though I was playing gigs, and I was up in Philadelphia then, and I played with some acts on the road, and done a lot of traveling, and I felt that I had done as much as I could. I really felt that I kind of hit the wall, or hit the ceiling, whatever you want. My skill level had taken me as far as I could. My skill level at that point had taken me as far as I could go, and I realized that I needed to learn more in order to grow and get better. And that's when I made the decision to, just leave what I had, and turn my focus towards finishing my bachelor's degree in music. And at the time, I never even knew what a master's degree was. So then, of course, as I got into higher ed, then I understood the importance of it.
And now here you are, a professor yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm sure,
yeah, I speak from experience when I say, hey, don't drop out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's really an inspiration to your students as well.
Well, I have to admit it to them on the sly, sort of like, hey, yeah.
But
I don't announce it. Well, of course, now it's now the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I was going to say your secret is out.
Cat's out of the bag.
Oh dear. So tell me, what are some of the qualities that you think makes for a successful professor? I mean, you've been teaching here at Miami-Dade College for several years now. So what qualities make for an excellent professor?
You have to like your students. You have to like them.
Very meaningful. I mean, that is absolutely, hands down, the best advice I've ever heard.
I've heard people say they want to keep a wall, or they want to keep some distance.
Yeah.
And maybe that works for them, but I have to like them. I mean, I do like them. I mean, I don't have to work at it.
Well, I mean, you admit to them on the sly that you might be just like them.
Yeah.
So.
More ways than I'd like to admit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it means so much to the students to be able to connect to you as a professor, and to realize that, well, yes, the person leading their class and lecturing them is a real person with real experiences.
Just like me.
Just like you. Well, Professor Quinzi, thank you so much for joining us today on the Honorees.
Thank you for having me, Jess. It's been great.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
Same here. Fantastic.
Thank you for watching the Honorees. I'm Jez Katambe. See you next time.